Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests, and welcome to our second meeting of this new Rotary year. Today marks our first in a series of programs that will address education. It is no secret the world is a very fluid place at the moment, and as we move closer to the new school year, education is front and center. We will ask the tough questions, the questions you are thinking about and discussing with friends, family, and colleagues. Today, we welcome President Robert Griggs of Southeast Technical College. And next week, we will be joined by President Stephanie Herseth-Sandlin of Augustana University. Our August lineup will not disappoint as we continue the education series, but also revisit the important subject of race relations. Before we begin today's program with President Griggs, as is customary, I'd like to begin with Rotary's four-way test. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? I'd like to now welcome President Robert Griggs, and thanks again to President-elect Tony Knorr, who will serve as today's moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, President Jason, and welcome President Bob Griggs. My guest today is President at Southeast Technical College, a position he has held since his arrival in Sioux Falls 4 years ago. On August 24th, Southeast Technical College will begin its 5th year under the leadership of President Griggs, and we are privileged to have him join us today, and we plan to cover a host of relevant issues. Before we do, and in a spirit of transparency, I would like to make the audience aware that I currently serve as a Southeast Technical College Foundation board member. I'm grateful for this opportunity, and it is my hope that this experience serves us well today as we investigate important issues facing the school, its students, and the community. For those Rotarians joining us live, you can submit your questions via Facebook, and we will do our best to get to them at the end of our program. With that, we'll go ahead and jump in. And President Griggs, before we delve into the challenges facing your school and the opportunities that present themselves within higher education, tell us about yourself and the professional journey that led you to Sioux Falls and the Southeast. And then how did your background prepare you or make you the right person to lead Southeast Technical College?
Thanks, Tony. First, I want to say thank you to all the Rotarians for the opportunity to visit with you this afternoon about Southeast Tech, excuse me, and all of the project and initiatives related to workforce that are underway. As far as how I ended up here, I think I grew up in the Grand Forks, North Dakota area. I worked in agriculture in the Red River Valley growing up, which basically means I had 4 older sisters and they all married farmers. So I had the opportunity to work quite heavily in agriculture, which I think was a tremendous benefit for me as well. Went on to the University of North Dakota, went to law school at the University of North Dakota, and I had the chance to clerk for a couple of years. So I had the opportunity to have hands-on education in addition to the formal training, which I think was extremely beneficial and really helped me get that first job out of law school, which was a firm in Rapid City. And so really great firm, about 15, I think 16 attorneys. And I was the first person that they hired, out of state. So I was very fortunate. I really felt to have that opportunity there, and worked there for 5 or 6 years. But one of the things that I did when I was practicing, I was involved, and this is years ago, was involved with the Young Lawyers division of the state bar in South Dakota. And as part of that, we had the opportunity to go out and visit with area high schools on different topics of interest to students. And one of the things I just remember doing that and absolutely loved the experience of getting out in the classroom, really enjoyed that. And so I remember talking with my wife and saying, hey, I think I want to try, teaching maybe part-time and just give that a try. And I started doing that part-time, and that led to a full-time opportunity. And then in 2000, we moved to Bemidji, Minnesota, and I worked prior to coming to Southeast 16 years at Bemidji State University. And the last couple of years there, Bemidji, what was kind of unique about that, they had Bemidji State University, also the president there, Richard Hansen, was also the president of a two-year state technical college that was also in Bemidji. So in 2014, the technical colleges, it was having some challenges with enrollment and finance, and he asked me to step in 2014. At that point, I was a vice president at the university, and had the good fortune to have a variety of different roles there, as an academic dean, as a CIO, and also as an interim provost for a year and a half as well. And then this opportunity came forward to take over essentially the technical college, and really enjoyed that. The opportunity to work directly with employers and students in terms of finding workforce solutions for the region. And I think we did a pretty good job there. And the president, Richard Hansen at that time, I think he retired in 2016. And one of the things that he mentioned his retirement, he said, hey, there's a position in Sioux Falls, and he lives in Dell Rapids now and is working at Dakota State University for them. But he said, hey, there's an opportunity in Sioux Falls, you should check it out. So, you know, I did, and I was very fortunate to, again, had the opportunity to come here and work with a great group of faculty and staff, and the community is tremendous in terms of the support for our students and for our programs. So I think I lost you there, Tony.
Thank you for sharing that background and that experience that brought you to where you're at today, a leadership role. For our Rotarians and others joining us that are already wanting to correct me as I refer to the school as Southeast Technical College or Southeast Technical Institute, please help us understand the strategy behind the name change. Our community has known your school, our school, as STI for decades. Why did the South Dakota State Legislature vote earlier this year to change it to college?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the change has just been relatively recent. So as July 1, Southeast Technical College, you know, our new name, and what it does is allow us to come more in alignment with, frankly, with the rest of the country. I think we were one of the only states in the country that had 2-year Associate of Applied Science programs and were referred to as technical institutes. So the name is really, I think, coming more in compliance and more probably accurate description in terms of our programming and you know, moving forward. So it was an initiative from the State Tech Board, and I think to help shift that public perception maybe away from the old VOTEC days, and we're very proud of the education the 4 technical institutes have provided over that time. But so much today, I think, has changed in terms of, you know, our careers and the training that's provided. And fortunately, we have some great 4-year partners, both at the state level and at private universities that work with us. And of course, all 4 technical colleges are accredited and have been for a number of years by the Higher Learning Commission, which is the same body that accredits the 4-year state universities and private universities in our region. So it was really just coming more into alignment, I would say, you know, really with the rest of the country, and an acknowledgement, I think, of the important work and the transferability of much of our coursework onto 4-year universities.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up that last point. We'll talk about that partnership and what Southeast Technical College has done. Before we go there, though, let's talk. You brought up the 4 technical colleges within the state of South Dakota. Talk to our Rotarians about governance and funding and how you're structured and what has evolved over the last number of years.
Sure, it's very exciting actually, because it was just within the last 2 years that the state approved the State Tech Board of Education, so State Board of Technical Education. And that board oversees 3 primary areas. So for each of the 4 technical institutes, they oversee, number one, our programming, which is vital again to try to serve area workforce needs. They oversee facilities. So any of us that want to proceed in terms of building new facilities work through the State Tech Board. And important to our students, obviously, as well, as they set tuition. So they work with those areas, but it's also a shared kind of role in that the 4 technical institutes are still aligned with each relative school and their school district. So Southeast Tech is actually part of the Sioux Falls School District, and I'm actually quite proud of that connection. We just had Superintendent Jane Staven, the new superintendent, out on our campus last week, and it was great to have her out here and tour a little bit of our facilities and just start to visit with her about this important connection, that we have working with the Sioux Falls School District. And a number of the projects, I think that certainly the time that I've been at Southeast that we've been working on have been connected in large part, working in a very close working relationship with the Sioux Falls School District. And I think the other technical institutes also enjoy that same type of working relationship with their school district. So local control over personnel matters, policy, so forth, within the Sioux Falls School District and the other school districts with the technical institutes. And then with the State Tech Board, we have those important areas, obviously, of setting tuition in the facilities and programming that we work through with them.
Yeah, thank you for unpacking the governance side of things. Talk a little bit about from your purview, where you sit on the northwest side of Sioux Falls. In your relative backyard, we have the 4th public high school in the Sioux Falls School District. Talk about the opportunities there and what that means for not only the school district, but Southeast Tech.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Yeah, we actually ran out of time last week with Superintendent Staven because we just started, I feel, kind of to scratch the surface of the opportunities that are here. And I really do get excited about it because I think nationally, and I'm not just talking about within the state of South Dakota, I think nationally, we have the opportunity here really to do something special in Sioux Falls because of Sioux Falls and the diversity in terms of the number of employers and the strong industry base that we have here in a number of areas, in healthcare and business and finance, in manufacturing, all of these different areas. So I think in talking with Dr. Staven, we just visited and said we have CTE Academy that is a block away from us. Just as you said, we have the new high school that's being built right behind us. And with Southeast, that we think there's a great opportunity to work very collaboratively in the community college, really, frankly, just right down the street. So we think there's some great opportunity to collaborate and to build and to do an even better job serving workforce. And with that, I think there's some ideas in terms of expanded partnerships in some of the pilot programs that we've launched over the last year or two, and how we can get more students with that opportunity to have exposure to different career and technical trades programming that we offer, and that are really pathways. And I think that's a key part of it. They're really pathways onto potential 4-year programming as well.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up that collaboration partnership in the 4-year, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like with Southeast Tech's partnership with the 4-year schools. Before we go there, talk to us a little bit about the history of Southeast Tech, what makes it unique, and what differentiates Southeast from the other 3 technical colleges in South Dakota.
Well, Southeast, we just recently celebrated our 50th anniversary here in 2018. So that was very exciting, an opportunity for many of our alums and faculty to come back on campus to check out the campus. And starting in 1968, I remember this from visiting with some of our veterans that have been around a while. And they said, we've started with Southeast started with 7 programs and I think 118 students. And obviously we've come a long way. I think last fall we were about 2,500 students and close to 70 different programming offerings. We moved out to our current location. I think it was 1989. The school district, Sioux Falls School District, purchased 56 acres out here, and then 1998 they purchased additional acreage. And the Mickelson building, the George S. Mickelson building, was the first building out here and built in 1989. And since then, 27 years, we have been building and growing along with Sioux Falls. And now we actually have 7 buildings that comprise our campus. And the last building was in 2016 that was finished. It was right when I came on board here, and it's the hub building, and it allowed us to expand a nationally ranked automotive technician program, to start a diesel ag program. So there are a lot of offerings, again, trying to tie into what the regional workforce needs are. And what makes us different, we're very similar in the sense that we all offer a lot of the same programming in terms of welding, business trades, construction, those types of things that are vital to Watertown and to Mitchell and to Rapid City. But I think Southeast also has some, unique programming that's come out of our area. And obviously with the growth of Sioux Falls and the heavy influence of Sanford and Avera Health and the growth of the healthcare sector, we have responded and have a number of different healthcare programs, more specialization in terms of sonography and pharmacy tech and some other programs in addition to LPN and RN nursing. We also have a collision auto body program, HVAC, civil engineering, architectural and mechanical engineering that are not offered at the other techs, and a land surveying program. I think that's one of only 5, or it's the only one in 5 states, so a 5-state region. So we do offer some very specialized programming, and again, in an effort hopefully to respond to regional and area workforce needs.
Yeah, great. Well, yeah, thank you. And all 4 play an important role in our state. Of course, you're right here in the biggest community in our state, and that shines a light on what's happening at Southeast Tech. Next, I want to talk about the concept of technical college. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're a first-generation 4-year college grad. You talked earlier about you went on to law school. You spent much of your career in the 4-year college setting in Bemidji. For our parents and grandparents that are joining us today, a lot of us have a mindset on our child or grandchildren going on to a 4-year degree. Share with us why a 1- or 2-year technical education deserves strong consideration, and what is your message to parents of high schoolers?
Well, I think what's so important again is what the technical institutes in South Dakota, now technical colleges, what we have done very, very well, I think, is trying to meet the needs of the region. So again, if it's in manufacturing, in healthcare, in different sectors, business and finance, we've responded with programming, and that programming is often what we call stackable. So we have individuals, and about 52% of our student population are what we would call non-traditional. So they've been, not coming straight out of high school. They've maybe worked a while, or maybe they've gone on to a 4-year and tried that for a while. But for whatever their reason, they're coming to Southeast Tech. And many of them will start off with a certificate program that's typically 14 to 16 credits, and that can lead to a diploma program that's around 30 credits, so usually a year long. And then what we have is these credentials are stackable, so then that can lead to an Associate of Applied Science degree or a 2-year program option as well. And so, most of our students are here obviously to get that training they need and to find that job. And so that after the first year or the second year, that's a great opportunity in terms of to get them out in the workforce and earning some money. But the other benefit of that is that, again, as we talk more about how collaborative and the state universities are working more and more with the technical colleges in terms of that these programs are transferable. So I really like to think of it as these are not dead-end jobs. And I think some of the stereotypes that are out there is, oh, you're just training for minimum wage, occupations and that type of thing. And that is absolutely not correct. And I think last year, the State Department of Labor published some very eye-opening statistics in terms of, 2-year students and the opportunity for their potential earnings comparison with their 4-year colleagues and peers. And so very, very competitive salaries. But I think some of the best things are that they really are pathways onto, you can start here and then go on to the USDs and the SDSUs or the Augustanas and others, thanks to, again, more collaboration and more partnership and pathways. And frankly, that's the way it should be. Not all of our students that come here they don't maybe see themselves fitting in right away into a 4-year experience, or they can't see that investment. And again, we have a lot of working moms and dads out there that are juggling a job and family, and it's an opportunity to learn that skill, to get that credential, and to get into the workforce and really have less debt than you would under a 4-year option.
Yeah, thank you. A lot has been said, or there's been a lot of conversations around that topic, and you're saying it's not a either or, it could be both. And I know that's your vision for Southeast Tech is to develop pathways. Let's talk about, you mentioned the word investment earlier, and I want to key on that. With the cost of many 4-year colleges and universities significantly outpacing inflation and average cost of living, there has been, like I said, much conversation over the last decade regarding the value proposition and or the return on investment of higher education. In many cases, students are financing their education, leading to what many have coined as a student loan crisis. Help us understand your view on that issue, and what are the tangible steps that need to be taken to avoid saddling our next generation with an exorbitant amount of debt.
Well, that is probably front and center in terms of a lot of our conversations. I know the State Board of Technical Education and their all of the board members are very concerned about the cost of education, as they should be. And in South Dakota, our state tuition is set at $121 per credit for this coming year. So we did not increase it. The State Tech Board, I think, decided wisely that this isn't the time, obviously, with COVID and the challenges many families are facing to raise the costs of attending one of our technical colleges. But as far as trying to solve that issue or challenge again, and I think a lot of it has been focused on partnership and collaboration with business and industry. And in terms of, I know, Tony, you serve on our foundation board, and raising scholarship dollars has been, again, front and center in terms of our most recent capital campaign, trying to find new opportunities and ways to provide students access to higher education without saddling them with tremendous debt. And again, that's where I think part of our programming response has been, again, to offer more certificates and diplomas. So shorter duration, hopefully, to meet industry needs. And that's why it's so critical that we are listening. And I think that's the key thing. We are trying to listen to what the needs are of industry, and whether or not they need that 2-year investment of time on the part of that student, or if that 1-year program might serve what those needs are, and then employers have that opportunity to skill those those recent hires up as well in terms of different programming areas and so forth. So our response locally has been to focus on scholarships, focus more on industry partnerships and collaboration. And one of the biggest impacts has been that Build Dakota program. And that has opened doors, I think is the best way maybe to talk about it. It has provided access to a number of students and provided full ride scholarships where that opportunity may not have been there, previously to go on and attend a 2-year or a 4-year college or university. So through the good work of our foundation board, we've been able to offer more tuition scholarships, and our Build Dakota program has expanded as a result of that. We've also been partnering, as I mentioned, with the Sioux Falls School District on some very, very exciting dual credit programs. And students, while in high school, are able to take classes with us in different areas that lead them again into a potential career, whether again in business or finance or healthcare and different industry sectors that they can knock out a few of those classes while they're in high school. It's much less expensive than waiting and taking those classes once they arrive on our campus. So those are kind of the creative, innovative partnerships and things that we're trying to do a little differently, to reduce a lot of that cost, because that is a concern, not only in South Dakota, I think, but across the country.
Yeah, so thank you. So you brought up dual credits, you brought up Build Dakota. It's a multi-pronged approach to working to solve the challenge that a lot of families face when it comes to higher education. Let's go back to Build Dakota. For those Rotarians that may be familiar, if you're not, that was announced in December of 2014, a partnership of T. Denny Sanford and the state of South Dakota to provide full ride scholarships for those really high need trades, those high need industries. So we've had 5 cohorts or 5 groups that have gone through that, not only at Southeast, but the other technical colleges. Talk to us, President Griggs, about what that's meant for the businesses here locally, for Southeast Tech, and where you see that program going in the future.
Well, as you mentioned, we have been very fortunate to have had 5 years of funding from Denny Sanford and Governor Dugard, and it is really impressive in terms of to get an opportunity to meet some of these students. And we started something at Southeast last year, and we weren't able to do it this spring because of COVID, but we had a signing ceremony for all of our Build Dakota students and our families, and we had them come in, and Mayor Tenhaken came out, and Dana Dykehouse, who's the president of the State Board of Technical Education, came over and addressed those Build Dakota scholarship recipients. And so it was just exciting in terms of, and then we had they signed a letter of intent, so to speak. It was actually just like you would athletic, they'd sign a national letter of intent maybe to go and work with a college or university with a sports program. Here they were signing their Build Dakota scholarship paperwork that provided them, again, that full ride scholarship. And what was really key, I think, to make Build Dakota successful, it had to start with that initial funding, obviously, but business and industry in Sioux Falls have responded tremendously to the call to help support students in that effort. And we have something at Southeast Tech, and all the 4 technical colleges have a similar type of program, but we call ours Sponsor a Scholar. And business and industry will essentially be paying for half of that student's cost of their educational program. And so what the Build Dakota board has identified high need programs. So these are where there is a workforce shortage that we need to respond to. And so students that want to pursue those programs, and now with industry sponsors, we're able to stretch those Build Dakota dollars out and provide even more scholarships than we were maybe in the early days of Build Dakota, because of that industry sponsorship. And I just know in the time I have been here, I have seen firsthand that growth in sponsorship, where I think the first year I was here, we had 21 Build Dakota industry sponsored scholarships, in addition to just full ride scholarships that were provided through that funding source. The next year, because of working with the chamber and the Sioux Falls School District and CTE Academy with events like our sector breakfast meetings and others, where we brought industry out here to campus to learn more about our programs and see what we were offering, and maybe even more importantly, giving us advice on what we needed to change and be flexible to move into either whole new program areas or revamp current programming. But all of that led to the next year, I think we were up to 61 Build Dakota scholarships. And then last year, we had our highest number was 90. I think we had 92 Build Dakota scholarships. And I think that's a great barometer for us in terms of that industry input, in terms of investing directly in our students and our success. And for this year, we're at 99 Build Dakota Sponsor Scholar student awards. Unfortunately, like I said, we were not able to do our Build Dakota signing ceremony, which was really just a lot of fun, because again, we not only had the students here, we had the employers that were sponsoring them, and we had their family members come in as well. And as a parent of 3 kids, I mean, how exciting is that to have a full ride scholarship and know your son or daughter is going to graduate with absolutely no debt and have an outstanding career opportunity in front of them.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. God willing, a year from now, you'll be in a position to have the next cohort in person to do that signing. And I think one important factor, you mentioned full ride scholarship. It does come with responsibility on the students' behalf.
Right.
A lot of times those students end up as long-term employees of the business they're sponsored by, but the requirement is that they remain in South Dakota for 3 years or otherwise need to pay the scholarship back. So it's a win-win for the student as well as our community and those industry partners. Let's turn now, President Griggs, to a conversation that has really been in the headlines. The conversation around race, equality, it's really been elevated the last 60 days since the death of George Floyd. Sioux Falls, you mentioned the relationship with the school district, and based on their projections, by 2030, the school district K through 12 will represent a minority majority. Help us understand what leadership role Southeast Technical College is playing when it comes to race and diversity, and what other steps need to be taken to provide educational opportunities to all members of our community, regardless of their race or socioeconomic status. And what opportunities do you see?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I really do think that's one of our primary responsibilities as a 2-year technical institute, especially in terms of access and opportunity. And that we are only successful if we are providing that opportunity in terms of our programming to everyone. And that often is not the case. You mentioned earlier, I'm a first generation college student, as well. And so understand some of those challenges with those first gen students, and maybe not having anyone in their family that has gone on to 2-year or 4-year education. But the challenges are out there are real. And Southeast Tech, one of the things that we've been doing and in trying to respond and provide greater access to programming is a couple of pilots that we worked with, and one is called Classrooms to Careers, and that was a program that was modeled off of a program that ran many years here very, very successfully with the help and assistance of Smithfield Foods and also the Sioux Falls School District. And so what that program did is provided the opportunity for first generation low income and minority students to attend Southeast Tech and take some dual credit classes out on our campus at absolutely no cost. And Smithfield did this very quietly for 10 years, and they spent about $90,000 a year, and they provided the dual credit tuition rate for 30 to 35 students a year during that time. And those students were selected by high school counselors as they felt maybe a good fit in terms of providing that opportunity for. And Dr. Maher, I know when we've worked with Superintendent Maher, he'd often talk about how in the Sioux Falls School District, there's this 34% of high school graduates in Sioux Falls that do not go on to any form of post-secondary, and whether that's 2-year or 4-year. And if you actually dive into those numbers and say who is that number, what's it comprised of, you see a higher percentage of first-gen, low-income, and minority students that are not going on for maybe a variety of reasons. And so that program, Learners to Leaders, that Smithfield offered was a great opportunity. And I think as a result of students participating in that program, 96% of those students went on, about 30%, 40% went on to Southeast Tech, and the others went on to, SDSU and USD and Augustana and USF. And so it was a great program. Unfortunately, Smithfield, the return on investment for Smithfield wasn't that great, because I think over 10 years, I think they only got a couple of employees as far as that actually came to work, at Smithfield for them. And so I think as a company, they just decided that they're better off spending those dollars in a tuition reimbursement program. So that program went away when I came on at Southeast Tech here. And when we started our capital campaign here at Southeast, and Shelley Unruh, who was our director of our foundation at that time, we talked about it and said, this is just too important of a program to not try to bring back in some manner. And so we were very fortunate again to have financial support, because there is absolutely no way we could not do this program without getting financial support. But we approached Sanford Health, and they jumped right in. We approached the mayor. Mayor Tenhaken said, I'm in, let's do it. And so the city was also a financial sponsor to help bring it back. And then First Premier as well in our the capital campaign contribution to Southeast Tech is directed toward that Classrooms to Careers program. So last fall, we had for the first time in 2 years, and we brought that program back at Washington High School. And I think we had 14 students that started in the fall with us. And then I think we picked up another 16 students in the spring. So it was really exciting to see the growth in that program. And similarly, Avera Health, Shelley Unruh and I approached Avera, and we talked with them about the opportunity. And Dave Fleechek, I don't think we were in the conversation more than 10 or 15 seconds. And he said, I love it. We need to be part of this. We're gonna make an investment in this. And they have taken that program really to the next level in terms of what they call the Avera Academy. And so they do a wonderful job with a full-time person at Avera that works with those high school students. So I think we started with 24 students there. And again, the students are first generation low income or minority students. And so many of those typically may not have had a 4-year path or a 2-year path in their future. But now by taking part in this program, we're hoping to see the same results that we saw years ago with the Smithfield Foods Learners to Leaders program as well. And so with the success of those programs now, and we have conversations that have been going on with the Sioux Falls Development Foundation, Bob Munn and Denise Gazzetta have taken on the challenge. And I think it's really exciting to see this potentially go to another level now by even involving more employers, involving the community college of Sioux Falls, and hopefully at the end of the day, provide even more options again for students.
Yeah, thank you. And it's exciting. A lot of opportunity there. We have a lot of first generation Americans in our community. You mentioned earlier a capital campaign. And for our Rotarians watching, very familiar with capital campaigns to build buildings. Talk to us about the Now campaign, which is really a campaign to build people and invest in our community. Talk about the reception that you've had and the ongoing work of that campaign.
Well, that all of the heavy lifting in that our first ever foundation, capital campaign was really done by the board members that we have been so fortunate and have been so gracious with their time. David Long from Sanford Health has been a co-chair of that capital campaign. Bob Jarding from Electric Supply, the president there, just did an outstanding job helping us move forward with the capital campaign. And I think in terms of, you're right, it wasn't really focused on a building, but rather it was focused, as we talked before, about developing more scholarship opportunities, but also programming. So part of those funds, those dollars that have come in our capital campaign have helped us respond to area workforce needs that we have learned and heard about through sector breakfast conversations and meetings with business and industry and chamber officials and others, where, as an example, I'll just give you a couple of programs that are starting this fall, and fingers crossed that all the construction will be done here in the next few weeks as we start classes in August. But our veterinary technician program received substantial funding and support from the capital campaign and private investors really throughout the region here. Dental assisting, area dentists, the Southeast Dental Association, in part of the State Dental Association, really got together and really came forward and said, we need that type of programming here, and we're willing to help support it, financially as part of that capital campaign effort. So I think we weren't building buildings, but we were building programming, and we were adding to in terms of scholarship funding through expansive, like we talked about with Build Dakota, and more dollars being invested there that we're investing in our students.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And getting back to those investments, I know one of the pillars of that initiative was to look at the growing diversity in our community. You talked to our Rotarians about where we've been, what goals or objectives does Southeast Tech have, and what's the progress, not only from a student perspective, but from a faculty perspective in terms of progress towards representing the community that we are a part of.
Well, as far as the diversity in terms of just some numbers, maybe to help frame that a bit, again, I think when I started at Southeast, we had around 9-10% of our student body was minority based. So over that time, and with the start of the capital campaign, we realized as Sioux Falls continues to grow and the diversity in Sioux Falls continues to grow, we, again, to be accessible, we need to do more and make more of an effort as far as outreach and opportunities in terms of scholarships and programming to get some of those students out here and to experience and look at maybe some career opportunities they may not have thought of previously. But with some of that good work with scholarships and some of the programming like we're talking about in dual credit, that our numbers have increased over time. And so 2 years ago, we went up to 12%, I think, as far as diversity basis for our student population, and then to 14. And then this last year, we were at 16% of our student population being minority students. And so one of the areas, though, that I think where we have worked more in providing access, Tony, one of the challenges that we still face is helping those students be successful once they get here. And in that regard, I think you're talking about retention. And so are those students completing their programs? Are they getting that job and then continuing on with career success? And so we know if we can get them out here, we can do a good job once they're out here. But many of those minority students have some special challenges. Some of them are English language learners where, English is not their native language. And so that is a huge challenge in some of these different areas. As an example, in healthcare, which has its own vernacular in terms of, the medical and healthcare industry, those students are trying to understand that and learn English. And so we've had to come up with some different programs to try to help those students with that. And we have, in terms of responding, trying to provide more assistance and tutoring support. But I think that's an area where we still need improvement because our retention numbers really haven't improved. So while our numbers have increased, our retention numbers for those minority students, I think we need to focus on. And actually for this next year, this coming year, we have a couple of initiatives that we'd like to get started. And again, working with our same partners, the Sioux Falls School District and area and other area high schools, Harrisburg and T and Del Rapids, and a number that are in our region that we hope to be able to work with and provide, again, more opportunities and provide more support for students that are coming here that have some challenges in addition to just paying tuition.
Yeah, thank you for raising that issue. It goes beyond helping them get through a class. It's really those life skills that are going to put them in a position to succeed. And I know you said we're at 16% now. I know your vision is well beyond that and the goals that have been set. And really for Southeast Tech to be a place that all backgrounds and walks of life can access in pursuit of the American dream.
Well, Tony, maybe one thing there, and I want to mention, we're fortunate to have on campus the Hovland Learning Center. And so that provides the opportunity for 300 to 400 students that the Hovland Learning Center works with. And that is really outside of Southeast Tech, in a sense that they are not earning college credit. They are there learning English and improving their reading skills and doing other things. And the leadership of the Hovland Learning Center, Jenny Keys is her name, she came up with a program that's called Aspire to Tech. And with that program, they're learning English, for example, as a second language, but they're focused on learning English with maybe a healthcare background. If that student wants to go in to become an LPN or a CNA, they will actually tailor their English language learning program around that particular career in industry area. So while we've done that in healthcare, we'd like to expand this Aspire to Tech program into other areas as well. And again, it's I kind of get back to that pathway theme. It's all about providing those pathways for individuals, no matter where they are in terms of where they find themselves today, and whether they're 18 or they're 26, whatever their situation is, to provide those pathways to get started, have success, and then hopefully continue on.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, challenges and also opportunities that higher education maybe hasn't faced to the same degree in the past. That are some of the issues that your team is tackling now. Let's segue in, and we've made it over 45 minutes without bringing up COVID-19, but we do need to talk about it because I know your team and educators across the country are working to figure this out. Let's just go back before we look ahead to the upcoming school year. 4 months ago, the world changed for all of us. Talk about what that looked like for Southeast Tech from mid-March on, challenges faced, opportunities, and maybe some lessons learned.
Well, you're right. I think that has been the largest issue in front of all of us, probably, no doubt. I can't think of a business that hasn't somehow been directly impacted by all of this. So Southeast Tech, what we did, and we really had some champions here in terms of helping our students through. We were fortunate in many respects that, at least in the Sioux Falls region, when it hit here, we were already through much of our programming, again, starting in January and February and going through at least a good part of March before we had to shut down. And then in response to that, our faculty stepped up tremendously in terms of trying to meet and respond to an ever-changing dynamic, because I think, I know I felt like I was sending out campus-wide emails every week, expanding in terms of the length of time where we might be, the campus may be closed, and ended up where we were closed, through May to, again, provide an opportunity for our students to finish courses online. And that is no easy task. And as you're well aware, and I'm sure many of the viewers, that as a technical college, we provide very, very hands-on type of training. It may not even be the second day of class. It may be the first day of class where those students are starting to get immersed into labs. And we have some wonderful facilities to provide, that type of technical education here. So we were fortunate enough in the spring to have had an opportunity to get those students in and get them through much of the program that was essential for their area programs before we had to move online. And Southeast Tech, we do offer programs online as well. And actually, I think just last month we were voted by one of the ranking institutions as the top 2-year and number 8 in the country as far as 2-year online programming. So we have some faculty in our business and finance area that do an outstanding job, and full online programs. And what we had to do was shift over, and a lot of our veteran online instructors did a tremendous job in terms of helping their colleagues work through the challenge of trying to teach online. Our IT staff worked overtime in terms of setting up our lab so we could record instructors in a lab working through a skill area and then providing it online. And what we did is we used Microsoft Teams, much like Zoom here, and so we could get together with the students through a video conference link that allowed the students to still interact with the instructor and then record different pieces and so forth. So it was very challenging. Everybody really stepped up and worked extremely hard to help our students through that. And of course, the last several months has been all preparing to get students now back on campus and really restructuring some of our delivery and the programming so we can get them back face to face and immerse them immediately into those important lab skills that are vital to their education.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's pivot now to what's coming up here in the next 30 days. You survived the last couple months of the school year and had folks step up. But as you said, it's awfully tough to teach various trades, welding or automotive, in a remote environment. Some of those trades, you need to be there. Talk to us about where you sit today. What decisions still need to be made over the next 30 days? Where you see enrollment? Are the students going to arrive? Are the faculty, are they all in? What does that look like? Or as you have students come back, are face masks going to be required? Paint a picture for us for this.
Sure. Course. Well, it started with us in terms of as we started to wrap up the spring semester, we immediately put together a COVID task force, and that was comprised of a lot of our healthcare faculty. There was a strong healthcare focus on the COVID task force, as well as some community members that had healthcare experience. And we were very fortunate to work with the city as well, Jill Franken and Sandy Friends and others, to help us put together a plan to reopen for the fall. And so we've been working on that plan for several months, and it's up on our website now, but it was a phased plan to reopen. So in June, in terms of that was that first phase, and we brought back supervisors, directors, really more the leadership onto campus, and we asked them to really work through the areas in terms of their physical surroundings. And we have a lot more signage up, obviously, just like what you see elsewhere in different businesses requiring social distancing or asking individuals to maintain that social distancing. We provide plexiglass, physical barriers, again, between, they'll be in place so students coming to different windows, again, just what you see in area businesses as well to provide that extra degree of protection, hopefully for our employees and also for students. We've been working with the Sioux Falls School District on some of the ventilation and how we can improve the ventilation in the building. We've been working on plans in terms of and have ordered some extra sanitizing and cleaning equipment. So if we do have an outbreak, we're able to sanitize, shut down that area and sanitize and quickly get it back up and running again. The face masks, you mentioned face masks. I know there was a lot of discussion on the use of face masks. And in order for us to stay open, I think, because what we have to realize is we're going to be operating, COVID isn't going away for the fall. So it's still there. And we are going to be offering face-to-face classes, in the fall and starting in the fall. And so we'll continue to work with local and state health officials to get their advice and guidance. But right now, all of our planning really leads to one thing, and that is to return to face-to-face, offerings this fall. Part of that will be different because we're asking students and all faculty and staff to wear face masks because we think that is one of the best ways we can ensure and will help us continue to be able to offer, even if there is an outbreak, to continue to offer programming. We're one deep. Our chief academic officer often talks about the fact, we're one deep in a lot of program areas. So we need to keep our faculty healthy so they're able to come back and continue to provide instruction. So we've had this faculty group that has been working all summer long in terms of how to provide some of this programming. So as an example, of course, it might work Monday or be scheduled Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They'll be meeting Monday and Wednesday, and Friday it will be online. So we're using maybe a little bit more technology, but we're still, a lot of the focus has been working on getting those labs up front. Most of our classrooms, we've been in every single classroom with a tape measure 5 times and creating, that social distancing. So what that means is we're expanding classroom usage as far as the timing of when that is, greater lengths of time as far as maybe more evening and even looking at some weekend classes as a possibility, because we've had to reduce most of our classes. We have a number of programs that are already full for the fall, which is really good news. But we have, let's say there's 24 in a classroom. And so to provide adequate social distancing, we're having to reduce that to 12 or 14 seats in that classroom. So how are we doing that? And through scheduling and reworking things, I think we're able to accommodate many of those changes. And the same thing in labs. But a lot of our students, frankly, they're used to working in those labs, and in automotive, as an example, they all have to wear safety glasses. And they have their uniforms, and in our healthcare programs, the same thing with PPE and other things that they wear, and it's very common. So the face masks are just another safety feature. I think hopefully that will help us to keep operating and offering courses in the fall.
Yeah, thank you for that update. I know in that 3 or 4 minute update went hundreds and hundreds of hours of planning. And that planning continues not only at Southeast Tech, but across the country as we all work to figure out a way to get back to school. Talk to us about enrollment. Are you seeing any changes because of COVID, or what does that trajectory look like, not only locally, but on a regional basis?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say what we're hearing from our admissions office is that many students are still waiting. They're kind of waiting to get a little closer to the start of fall classes, maybe before signing up. Fortunately for us, even early back in June and in May, as we started to enroll for classes this coming fall, we've been ahead of last year in terms of headcount and credit generation, so far. So I think we had a registration event last Friday that was a virtual registration event. We used to have those face-to-face on campus. Those all moved to a Teams meeting like this, and I think we had 142 students that registered for classes again next fall. So right now, we're 3%, maybe 4% up in headcount and about 3% in credits. But that is very, I mean, we're very cautious with those numbers, because one of the things that happens, Tony, is we get closer to that date, if there's spikes in terms of outbreaks and so forth, there are many students that are probably waiting to see, whether they're going to actually come or sign up or show up. So, we're working hard to do everything we can on our end to make sure we have that face-to-face, a quality face-to-face, learning experience. I think that Southeast Tech has achieved thanks to the good work of our faculty and staff.
Yeah, great. And our audience can see and feel the passion you have for the students and for the college. And I guess my next question, probably our last question here as we wrap up our time, is as you look out 5, 10, 15 years, share your vision for what Southeast Tech will mean for our community.
Well, I think one of the things that I really, ever since I arrived here, and a number of people told me that Southeast is a great resource. You're kind of like this very quiet diamond out on the hill out there, and people drive by us on interstate all the time. But unless someone has taken classes out here, or maybe hired some of our graduates, they really don't know a whole lot about us. So I think one of the challenges and one of the things we've worked on, and our foundation board's been a champion of this with our sector breakfasts and just getting more people out on campus, and the opportunity to use our campus for Sioux Falls, for the region. We have some wonderful facilities. We had the National Guard was here earlier this summer, providing training to prepare Sioux Falls for COVID if it expanded further. We had legislative coffees, to provide area through the chamber. The chamber sponsored those events. And that's just a great way. I think we're looking for more opportunities to partner and collaborate. And since I've been here again, I think one of the key pieces has been we've really tried hard to listen and respond to the region. And so many of us in higher ed, we have some ideas. We think, we're going to do this and this. And you know what, if that's not needed in the region, then we shouldn't be investing those dollars in that effort. So I think the most exciting thing has been the response of industry and business and our students in terms of some of these programs that we've been working to develop and continue to bring forward, for the community. So we will only be as successful as we are good in terms of how good we are in listen and respond to area workforce needs. So the more we can do that, I think the better we can serve Sioux Falls and the whole region of the state.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your willingness to listen, and thank you for those that have joined us today for your willingness to hear the Southeast story. We want Southeast to not be a secret. It is a resource for our area. We've been familiar with it, and I think you're going to hear a lot more from Southeast Technical College under President Griggs' leadership. Like you said, we're building off what the community is saying and taking the community's lead. I think if we can do that effectively and do it collaboratively and really be nimble and responsive, that will all be successful. So I want to thank you, President Griggs, for your leadership at Southeast Technical College and your service to our community. I speak for Rotarians when I say we wish you and the team the best as you begin this school year. It'll be like a school year unlike any that any of us have ever experienced, but the Southeast Technical College continues to play a critical role in our community and in our workforce here locally. So with that, we'll go ahead and close, but God bless you and your wife, Susan, and your family, and wish you all the best.
All right. Thanks, Tony. Take care, everybody.